Maybe.
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad everybody could make it. The time is 20 to 6.
What did you think?
Starting a little late, but better late than never. Couple of things I'd like to cover before we get started is if anybody took a chance to look at their email address, their email that said about the LEAC committee, all the way at the bottom of the email, there's a little file, less than 500 kilobytes. It's called an ICS file. An ICS file. Okay. If you click on that, it will automatically add the years of committee meetings to your Google Calendar automatically. And that way it'll help you not miss any meetings. I was waiting a little bit tonight because a couple of people that I wanted to teach that to aren't here. But that's okay, but there's an ICS file.
I have that.
I also wanted to discuss the fact that we always need to keep in mind, we need to stay on topic. If we need to go off topic on something, bring it up to leadership and we will add it to the next month's, the next meeting's agenda and discuss it as a whole committee. Also we want to discuss the rules of engagement, but first, Michael not being here tonight. You born this moment. Oh, okay. Michael wanted me to bring up the fact that 2 years ago, we were talking about making a social media post or an interview for the homeless. Wanted me to bring that back up and refresh the memory. Obviously, we won't address it tonight, but it's something that we're going to be addressing here soon. Okay. As far as the rules of engagement goes, as I said again, our new people aren't here, so everybody knows about the active listening. All members are encouraged to listen attentively, as all opinions matter. Okay, constructive feedback. When we're providing feedback, we want to do a constructive way pertaining to the point at hand. We're going to try and be a productive and efficiency committee this year. We want to get some good things done. And this is all in steps for that. Maintain confidentiality, personal stories, experiences, or any sensitive information that you hear or know about other committee members should be kept confidentiality. Okay, what happens in this committee stays in this committee. It's not our right to go out, you know, spread words. We need to be punctual at our meetings. Keep track of when the meetings are. If there's any question, all committee members have my phone number. You can call me. I will answer, and if need be, I will text you or update you on the timely manner of when the meeting will occur. In case there's any problem, that's the whole purpose that I give you my phone number.
Check that because he does it with me all the time.
Yeah. So, you know, the whole idea is you can't lead anything if the people you're leading don't have access to you. All right. Well, I want everybody to participate in our discussion. That's why we limit each topic to 2 times getting a microphone, is because if we have 5 out of 20 people doing all the talking, we're missing 15 other points of view. We want to get everybody's opinion because it could be constructive and it could be helpful. So we don't want to miss anything. That's why we limit it. You know, when the ladies here very nicely send us out the agenda, you already have an idea what we're going to talk about that night. So if you want to prepare questions or make notes for yourself, you know, hey, I want to ask this, I want to bring up this topic, that would be a very good time. You know, to be prepared for the discussion. You know, versus in, you know, every 15, oh yeah, I forgot, I forgot. You're trying to get a robust, diverse opinion about each topic. That's where we give everybody a chance to speak. You know, so, you know, we could be missing, if the same 5 people are talking, we could be missing those points of view, which could be pertinent, relevant, and needed in our discussion. So, and also we want to avoid aggressive behavior, stay calm in a respectful manner. Verbal, physical, or aggressive behavior in committee is strictly prohibited and will not be tolerated. Of course, everybody here is a veteran, so we all know there's no tolerance for coming into committee under the influence. And, you know, there's zero tolerance for that. We can't have it. This is an important committee. We do important things and we advise the COC. So we need everybody on point, on deck with their head clear. And, you know, it's about the only way I could put it. Forgive me if I seem sometimes a little to the point, but it's my nature. So please forgive me. I'm trying to learn a little bit more diplomacy in my words. Okay. As I said, if there's ever any questions, you're more than welcome to call. And yes, ma'am. Oh yeah, always speak with the microphone in hand.
I'd like to make a point. I think that, the part of what would definitely really help this committee is people should be practicing advocacy when they're not here, when they're out in the real world, like I did.
Oh yeah, I have plans for it.
That guy got back to me too, he said, thank you.
And getting
He
everybody more
hadn't
involved.
washed his clothes in like over.
Wow. That's very good that you were able to help them out with that.
So, anywhere that you see anybody that you think is homeless or whatever, you should go up to them and you say something to them. Make sure that they're okay. Make sure that they got the stuff they need. They're going to where they need to go. Because not all of us know. Yeah, I met somebody when I was coming back from St. Pete, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I think it was. And I talked to him and he didn't know about the Sacred Heart Church that was up here. So I called Gary and I got all of the information and I sent all of it to him. And he immediately texted me back, thank you, thank you.
About the showers and everything.
Yeah, I told him everything. I sent him everything that you sent me. And that's the whole thing. You're not doing this by yourself either. It's Gary will help you with this stuff because I immediately called him and I'm like, what do I do? I mean, he needs this. And he sent me all the information that I needed and I was able to send it to him and the guy was able to go get his clothes washed and everything else that he wasn't able to do. So I just think that everybody should be doing that while they're out in the world.
Agreed. And when I said that, you know, I want everybody to be more active this year, and that's a very good example.
Hi, my name is Charmaine. I've kind of been where you're at before, but I actually do it differently now since I live in Clearwater and, I'm older. If anybody is homeless, you can always tell, and I always try to give them some food, and most good-hearted people will do that for someone that is homeless. And I still gotta work with Northwest Church because I have so many men's clothes to take there because somebody had moved out of where we live and we get clothing all the time, men, women's, or whatever, and it would certainly help a whole lot of people. And, until they do, I guess I'll call Gary up or Ron, because he has access to with the VA, and the VA does a lot. They will give boxes for food to take to Williams Park, which he did today, which I thought that was awesome. Because I used to go down at Williams Park and help feed them, and they're still there, and, Gary wants to talk.
One second. Oh, sorry. 1 second. Okay, I'll come bring you this. And I do want to ask, this is a great conversation,
Yeah.
really and truly fantastic. This is an example, though, of us getting a little bit off of agenda and a little bit behind agenda. So, do you mind if I'll give you like 30 seconds for a comment, unless it's about rules of engagement, and then we got to move on to rules of engagement, okay? So sorry.
I just wanted to raise the question of Northwest Presbyterian Church, whether or not they still operate a clothing closet or whether or not that they accept donations. That's all I wanted.
Do they still accept donations?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Yes, they do. Good question. Thank you for asking. And it is really important to advocate and to be a source of community outreach. We have community outreach officers all across the county, but there's just not enough people giving out information. And part of our mission at the COC is ensuring that services are accessible. And that means that people know what services are and how to get to them. So thank you for doing that. Moving along to the next topic. I'm so sorry.
In this local area, the officer, his name is Officer Cole.
Yes. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I've actually talked to him like the last 2 days.
Thank you. Okay, a couple more just quick things about rules of engagement before we go along to the next agenda topic. As Gary said earlier, let's please try and stay on topic. If there are other important things that we want to talk about, like the importance of being a community advocate, let's put that in what we call the parking lot, which means we're going to come back to it. Have y'all ever abandoned your car in a parking lot and just left it there and never come back to it? Because I have never one time done that.
That gets told.
But you go and find it. You go and find it after that. You make sure you know where your car is and you always come back to it. So we will take things, we will put them in that parking lot, and we will circle back around to it at the end of the meeting if there's time, or a future meeting, because that is a really important topic, and I appreciate you bringing it up. But let's go ahead and let's stay on topic. That's one of the rules of engagement. Let's use I statements, because we don't want to talk about other people. We don't want to make other people feel bad. I hate the term other. So let's talk about ourselves and our personal experiences, and let's make sure that we're not discriminating against anybody. Everybody has a right to exist. We all have a right to be here in this room, and everybody's experiences are valid. So let's just keep that in mind. Another rule of engagement, this is not in the charter, but please only speak if you have a microphone. It's really important because it makes sure that only one person is talking at a time. It makes sure we stay on schedule, on topic, and that everybody can hear us. If we're not using the microphone, there's a chance that somebody can't hear you. And I don't know about y'all, I don't come to this meeting to sit in silence. So I want to make sure I can hear other people. I want to make sure other people can hear me. So that's what I've got for you there. Does that cover it?
Mhm.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you upholding those as we move forward. Do you want to do the consent agenda?
I'll be there with you.
All right. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting? Okay. Do we have any questions or edits? And if not, can I get a motion to approve that?
Okay.
Okay, Barry, you're gonna motion? Oh, okay. Oh, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Do we have a second on the minutes? Norm? Okay. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, that means you don't want to vote yes. Say nay. Does anybody want to abstain, which again just means you neither vote yes or no. You just say, I'm here, but I'm not voting. Okay, all right, motion carries unanimously then. Consent agenda is approved. We also have a few membership applications to review. Did you want to do this one? Kat, or do you want me to take it?
I'll let you go ahead and do this because I am calling on the applicant.
Okay. Okay. So there is the link to the applications in the meeting packet. Please make sure if you have not filled these out yet that you do. Please also make sure that if you're talking to somebody about joining our committee, that you tell them what the steps are. Step 1, attend a meeting. You got to attend a LEAC meeting first to join the LEAC committee. It's redundant. It's like an ATM machine. So you have to attend the meeting first. Then you want to make sure that you complete your COC membership application. There is a link to that on the first page of the meeting packet. If you need help with that, please let me or Megan know. Then once that's done, you want to make sure that you complete your lived experience advisory committee application. This is new this year, and it is to make sure that we are upholding that charter that was approved back last January, which calls for a robust membership. People from different parts of Pinellas County, people with different experiences, people of different ages, so that we can have a really wide perspective here in this group and on our mission to end homelessness. And again, we, per charter, per committee vote, are allowed 5 to 20 voting members here in the Lived Experience Advisory Committee. We could have 100 guests join us. And I don't know where we'd fit everybody, but I'd be honest, that would be such an amazing problem to have that I'd be excited about it. I think we'd be calling the news if we had 100 folks showing up. So that's what we have to do for our membership. Lived experience members of this committee and of the COC. That means you have experienced homelessness within the last 7 years. These are the only folks eligible for meeting stipends. If you have experienced homelessness more than 8 years ago, we absolutely still want you to be a part of this group. Please vote, please participate in meetings, please be a member, but please know that you are not eligible for the Walmart gift card stipend or the gas card gift card stipend. Those are simply for our lived experience members, which again, mean you are currently experiencing homelessness or have experienced homelessness within the last 7 years. That's a HUD definition, not something we decided. So there we go. Any questions about that? I know we've gone through it a few times. I always just want to make sure everybody knows what's going on. All right, then let's go ahead and let's talk about these applications. So first on the list, he's not here right now, but Gary White was at our last meeting. He was sitting right about where Norman's sitting now at our last meeting. Y'all might remember him. He was recruited to the Lived Experience Committee here by co-chair Gary, and he has applied to become a member of this committee. His application is included in the packet there, and just like with every other application, we've gone ahead and redacted his personal information because I just don't want to post somebody's phone number online. So do we have any questions about Gary's nomination? No? Okay. We also have a nomination for Mr. Michael McLeroy. This is a renewal application. Michael was a member last year and has applied to renew his membership here with the Lived Experience Advisory Committee. And then we also have Mr. Ron over here who is also applying to renew his membership. So those are our 3 applications. I would ask, does anybody have any questions about them? Okay. So I'm going to ask that we approve these in one, we call this a slate when we are approving multiple things all at once, unless anybody has an issue with one of the applicants. So what we'll do is I would take a motion to accept all 3 applications unless somebody wants to pull one of them so we can talk about it further. Does anybody want to pull one so we can talk about it further? Does anybody want to make a motion to accept these 3 membership
I'll make a
applications?
motion.
All right, Gary, your motion. Do we have a second? Dan? All right, so Gary first, Dan second. Do we have, again, I'm going to ask because the motion's on the table now. Any questions or would you like to have any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Anybody want to abstain and not vote? All right. Gary motion, Dan seconded, and the motion passed unanimously. So welcome back. All right. Next up, we have the law enforcement pamphlet. Y'all are gonna be sick of hearing from me. I was excited. We were moving along to Gary and Mike and Kat talking y'all's ears off, and I was sitting over in the corner, but here I am today. So I'll start us off, and then Gary, I think you'll probably have some good stuff to add because I know you've worked hard on this. So
We all have.
yes, absolutely. So the interacting with law enforcement pamphlet was approved, as we know, at the last board of directors meeting for the Continuum of Care. That was in March, and the board asked that we send this pamphlet to Pinellas County Sheriff's Office for consideration, just so that we could get some feedback and make sure that it really jives with what's going on and that we're not going to cause more problems. Unfortunately, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, as we mentioned during the last meeting, maybe it happened after that.
They abstain.
Yes, they did that thing we just talked about, they abstained. And they said, you know what, we're not gonna even look at that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so Gary went ahead and showed it to a few of our law enforcement partners outside of the sheriff's office, got some feedback. And then our chair, Ms. Kathleen Beckman over here, had a executive committee meeting Friday or last Friday?
The Friday. Well, no, it was this last Friday.
Okay, so last Friday, they got together and met and decided to approve this without that PCSO feedback, so we are able to print. I have a ton of copies of this, and Megan has also printed a ton of copies of this. So while Gary starts talking in a minute, I'm gonna go ahead and pass some of these around. You will notice I shuffled the order. When I started folding this, we hadn't actually folded it in our past printings. And I started folding it today and I realized the title page is on the left and that opens funny. So we reordered it and it makes more sense now. The title page is on the front, resources are on the back, and it just flows a little bit better. All of the information is the same, but I could actually print some of these before I reordered it. All of the information is the same, but just so you know, if you see it and it looks a little bit different and it's opening backwards, that is why. I would have loved to have folded all of these for you, but I did not have the time. I'm sorry, but I will pass these out and let me know if you need help folding them. And while I do that.
Okay, for clarity, when the sheriff's department abstained from commenting on it, and I believe in giving credit where credit is due, I had Mary Robertson's help doing it. Every single police department in Pinellas County has seen this, viewed it, and have given it the green light. So we are covered so many different ways it isn't funny. St. Pete chimed in, Clearwater chimed in, Largo, everyone chimed in.
Why not the sheriff?
And the sheriff.
Why did they abstain?
Probably for accountability. I don't really know. I wasn't there at that meeting, but I went into the sheriff's department and a lot of city municipalities will not let them comment on something legally. I don't understand the legalities and technicalities, but a couple high ranking officers of the sheriff's department looked at this
Right.
and had no problem. The only thing they seen was where it says the law does not impact sleeping in a legally registered or parked vehicle. Because some city ordinances have no parking in a parking lot on a certain hour.
Right.
And I reminded them the fact that, well, if you're there in a non-parking time frame, that's not legally parked. That ended the topic right there. So the sheriff's department, I even got the green light from the sheriff's department. We got green light from Clearwater Police, St. Pete Police, Gulfport, Pasadena, everybody.
So you're talking about like Walmart 19 at 11 o'clock.
If they have a city ordinance, you can't be parking. Or,
I've seen 5 or 6 of them attack an RV down there
well,
at 11 o'clock.
the trick is, if it's legally parked. That, and I am not a lawyer, so there are probably a whole bunch of fine print as far as the legally parked. But long as it's legally parked. Now, if you're in a no parking area or there's an ordinance, you can't park at certain hours, then that changes you. You're no longer legally.
Right.
But the majority of the flyer, officers have no problem with it. All right, I thought the hardest sell would have been Clearwater or St. Pete Police. And even they chimed in on it. They said they see nothing, the words were, I see nothing I don't agree with.
Good.
So, we're good.
Ron?
Gary,
Sorry, Rob.
Gary,
Sure.
the sheriff, Gil Terry, he's an award-winning sheriff in the United States. If you listen to his podcast, he's an innovator. So he's pretty powerful in this country. I'm from California. I work with the sheriff department as a non-law enforcement person. And I understand he is the reigning power of this county. Resources and money by far. I've had run-ins with the sheriff department helping. They did a background check on me. They know exactly who I am. I do not always agree with them, but they're the boss.
Right.
So when I'm out helping homeless and I see the green card, I'm cautious because they have more power, more resources than anybody. They'll send a helicopter and follow them.
Okay,
What does it mean when you say, do you have even the slightest idea that if they don't agree with us, what we're writing doesn't mean anything to me?
we're
Because when I'm helping
advising
homeless and that green card shows up and they have different guidelines than you guys outlined as for months, this is trash to me because they do what they want when they want. And I'm not going to jail. They don't play. They are serious. We need Gilterry to get on board with us, modify it however he wants.
Thank you, Ron. So, I do want to note, that first and foremost, this is not, as it says on the front, this is not legal advice. There's nothing on this that should be considered legal advice. It is, however, all best practices, and it is all in line with Florida law. So there isn't anything in here that Pinellas County Sheriff's Office disagrees with, and it has been viewed by members of Pinellas County Sheriff's Office.
How about Gilterry? He's the boss. He calls the shots in this county.
I will tell you that though Sheriff Gualtieri is represented on our board of directors, his representative on board, the person that we show this to.
Good luck,
So-
that's not Brady Joe.
So our representative is Lieutenant Zach H., who y'all have met a couple of times. And he absolutely reviewed this. He gave feedback on this during our board of directors meeting. So there has been a little bit of feedback from Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. So I would not worry about this
What-
getting you in
what
hot water.
feedback? Specifically, what feedback? Because when I'm
The
in the
feed-
street and I
So-
tell the people to do this,
So,
so they don't go
hold
to
on,
jail.
hold on. You're doing that thing. We don't do that thing. We talk to the mic.
Yes. When I'm on the street and I give them this, to them, they want to stay out of jail. Some of them don't have any consciousness, they just, whatever happens. But the ones that have a brain and we could talk to that are not methed out and all that stuff.
Let's be respectful.
Yeah, just be safe and go home safely because they will not let you sometimes. Anyway, it's another story.
So
So how can I give them advice when this is not even? The sheriff won't go by the guide, what guidelines do they go by? So
the law, okay, so
So,
I'm
so give
gonna,
us the law.
I'm gonna answer your question and then I'm gonna move us along from this and we can talk about this more afterwards. But if this is gonna be a really, if you want a little bit more information, let's talk about it afterwards. But, for right now, I will note that Pinellas County Sheriff's Office follows Florida law. They follow Pinellas law. They follow local rules and regulations.
And they make their own law.
We're not going into that because they don't make their own law.
You
And
haven't been on the street with me.
so we're not,
Something.
let's not do
Let's not tell
combat.
the truth.
Let's not do combat. Let's talk about,
No.
let's talk about, Ron, please, let's talk about fact. Let's talk about fact. And the fact is that this was reviewed by a lot of our partners in law enforcement. We did get feedback and there is nothing in this that should get anybody in any hot water. We've been super careful to make sure there's nothing in this that's gonna get you in hot water. The advice in this is to be respectful. That goes against no law in any country that I'm aware of.
Sense.
So that's a common sense law. Or that's a common sense suggestion. To stay calm, to keep your hands visible. This is the advice in here. The information in here is, hey, by the way, most municipalities in Pinellas County are recording either through dash cam or body cam. This is not saying you should talk to police this way. This is not saying police have to do X, Y, and Z. This is saying, hey, stay calm, show your hands, be respectful, and let's try and make sure that we are moving along with our lives. That this is a quick and easy interaction, and then we get to move along. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And if you don't want to pass it out, if anybody doesn't want to pass it out, you absolutely do not have to. And if there are suggestions for ways that we can improve future prints, we will take them 100%. Every document that we have should be a living document because there's always change that comes about. There's always room for improvement. But for right now, you can at least feel confident in that our partners in law enforcement have provided some feedback. Our sheriff has not looked at it personally, but we have had members of the team who have looked at it. And this is approved and ready to go out. Whether or not you use it is entirely up to you. It is 100% optional. If you're not going to use your flyers, I just ask that you give them to somebody who will. I'm going to guess Miss Jennifer, because I've never seen Jennifer not pass out a flyer. We'll take whatever extras that somebody doesn't need. So please go ahead and pass it out.
I do have a suggestion for when you guys print them out again, is to actually, please note that this document does not provide legal advice, make that red.
Okay.
That way it stands out, you know.
Anyone else? All right. All right.
For the most part, when you're dealing with police of any sort, don't be a dick. Because they're only going to react to how you are. Well, just follow what's in that. You'll be fine. They're not out to get people. They just are. Unless you're doing something.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I am going to ask, because it is 6:10, it is 6:12, and we are 15 schedule. Is it quick, or otherwise can we talk about it after the meeting?
No, but how long are you gonna give it? How?
Only a few seconds. Let's talk after the meeting, okay?
No,
Yeah,
I want
let's,
something important.
okay, but please.
It's not that we're doing something wrong or the homeless are doing something wrong. They are living what Terry, the state of Florida just determined is wrong. So when you're approached and you're homeless and you're living somewhere that doesn't belong to you and you're doing the homeless thing, you're wrong from the beginning. That's what we're trying to prevent. But when you're wrong from when they approach you, they can arrest you. Because you're on property that doesn't belong to you, trespassing. And it's gonna be from there on, it's gonna go down quick. So we want to prevent them from being arrested. We don't even have the sheriff commenting on this, and he's the power here. So we gotta help them.
Yeah.
And I come from a different perspective than everybody in this room. I want to love them back to life so they don't live on the street and die on the street. I got a friend dying on the street, and he chooses to be homeless and crazy. But drugs, mental health issues, I haven't heard it mentioned very much in this. That's what we're really fighting. And the sheriff knows that. They have a lot of educated people. They have a lot of guns and resources like crazy in this county. If we can work together, we can find real answers to bring the people off the street. And I tell you one word that'll bring them off the street, Jesus. I haven't heard it mentioned in this room. And you can talk about rock and roll and all of your demonic worship.
Yeah, can we agree if you're an asshole to them, they're not going to be nice to you?
If you are homeless, they're not gonna be nice to you, because you're homeless. You stink, you're living someplace you don't belong. That's what we're doing, this whole thing. Everything we do is to give them homeless people a chance at a real life.
That feels like a great note to end on, because that is exactly right. We are here to try and improve things, and that is a really important part of this process. So thank you, everybody, for your participation in this. I know we've been working on this since like September, I think. So I am so grateful to Secretary Kat McMillan for having this suggestion, and for everybody here who has really put in a ton of work into this. So thank you so much. Okay, so next on the agenda, and we are a little bit behind, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna rush through a little bit. Next on the agenda, we have a discussion about hurricane communications to the unsheltered community. And what we're really asking here is, how can we ensure that people have access to the important information and necessary information when a hurricane hits? So, for instance, Pinellas County uses their website, and they post open shelters on their website. The only place you can go to find those open shelters is Pinellas County's website. There is no printed list. So we have started printing the lists of shelters once they are available on the website, along with the important phone numbers to call, PSTA information, Uber rides to the shelters, all that kind of stuff. And this form, which you have an example of in your packet, it's that big red looking one that says Hurricane Milton on it. Sorry if that's giving anybody some bad flashbacks. But this is an example of the communication that we started putting out last year. We, of course, put this on social media, on our website and whatnot, but we also sent this out via email to, well, everybody who would have been on our email list at the time, and to our outreach partners, to our street outreach partners, to our resource center partners, to our shelter partners, so this information could be shared widely. We also have people dropping these flyers off at gas stations and things like that. I think I hit a bunch of little corner stores here in Pinellas Park right before Helene and Milton. And so this is an example of the communication methods that we are using during hurricanes to make sure that our unhoused neighbors have access to really critical information. Because if you don't have a phone, if you don't have internet, a list of shelters being posted online is it's good for some people, but it's not good for you if you can't access it. So with that in mind, I will give the microphone over to Gary, because we are really hoping for a little bit of feedback, and we'll probably just introduce this topic today and then ask you to send us some feedback later on so we can get to the next part of the agenda. But that's really what I'm hoping for.
Thank you, Victoria. What I was hoping for is that we all know with the new technology, a lot of the homeless out there don't have smartphones, or they're not technically savvy. So in the old days, we would print up flyers and manually hand them out. My personal opinion, this is just my opinion, it's up to you to agree or disagree, is that we print them up and then us as advocates spread the word out there, talk to because we know friends, they know friends, and they will listen to friends, and it'll be like ripples in a pool. And we can get the word out a lot more than trying to rely on them to be able to look up online, trying to scan a code, trying to, you know, I think we can spread the word out. We all at least know a minimum of what, 10, 15 people, almost, minimal? If we tell them and ask them to tell them, and then it'll spread out. And we can get the word out in time for this hurricane season come up and get people a little bit more prepared. So that's my personal opinion. All right, I'm not sure if you share that or not, but that's what I would suggest. I'm Unfortunately, it's old school, but it works. It's effective. And right now, especially with the ACP that's been shut down for the last year, a lot of people don't have the quote unquote Obama phones. They don't have an active phone service. So, if they're trying to get the word out with today's technology, it wouldn't work like that. My recommendation to, and by all means, feed back into it, is that we print up flyers and we give it to y'all. And, you advocate out. Everybody wants to help advocate. Well, we want to keep people safe. Give you the flyers, talk to people, point out, hey, there's hurricane shelters, there's this, there's that. It's a perfect opportunity to get involved. And I wholeheartedly think that, we should do that. Versus trying to rely on the new technology. People get phones and we get caught back up and they get more technically savvy. Then that would be a good thing. So,
Megan? I just want to clarify, Gary. So what you're talking about is like our hurricane preparation kind of flyer? Okay. What about when there is a storm and we have one day to get that information out to people? What is the most effective way to do that in everyone's opinion? Jennifer does have her hand up as well.
I'm a member of Nextdoor and quite a few different like Facebook groups. And when we had the cold shelters, I'll take the information from the HLA website and I share it. And I'll make a post on Nextdoor and, have them, maybe the unsheltered, citizens might not have access to that, but the people that are seeing it, I actually, please share this information. And I'll add whatever, like if you see somebody, like, please let them know that that these shelters are available. So definitely, I think that's the fastest way.
Yeah, social media is a powerful tool, that is for sure. And I always appreciate those being shared.
I would think too, if, when it comes up real quickly, like Megan mentioned, if we run off a few flyers and put them at the soup kitchen, like the same, it's called soup kitchen or wherever there are feedings, and have announcements made, while people are eating something like, hey, tomorrow night, this is gonna open at 7 or it's expected, or do it that way too.
Announcements are a good idea. Any other ideas for right now? And by the way, if you want, you can marinate on this. You have my contact information. You have Beckett's contact information. So if you want to think about it, you can send us feedback later.
I just wanted to point out that, some of the information on Facebook isn't accessible from library computers and other resources like that. So they may want to choose an alternative social media phone.
So we are doing Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Nextdoor, and Twitter. X. Gotta call it X. I'm never gonna call it X, y'all. I've been talking about this lately. I still call the Sundial Bay Block. I will forever and for always call it Twitter. But I did not know that about Facebook. Are the other outlets accessible?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Specifically, what I noticed was, it gets blocked as, I don't recall the exact error, but
Something's blocking it.
multiple targets or something.
Okay. Would you mind going on and checking for me if next time you're at the library, you have a minute, and then reporting back and letting us know how it looks on the other outlets? Because that's really important for us.
I think it was also for the shelter information.
Okay.
Specifically. So I'm not sure whether it was just the cold mine shelters or whether or not it was the hurricane information, but it seems to be a problem with some of the Facebook pages.
Okay, that's good to know. On that note, y'all, if you see an error, if you see that something we are doing is coming up inaccessible or an error code, please absolutely shoot us a message, because it might look totally fine on my computer and on my phone, but there is a firewall that makes it inaccessible to half the population, and I only know about that if somebody tells me, so please tell me, that's super important information. All right, any other feedback for today before we go on to the next topic?
I was looking here on this sheet of paper on your general shelters. Well, there are way more schools than what I'm looking at here.
Those were the open shelters. We are only posting open shelters.
Okay, well, when we had the hurricane, there were other schools that did open.
So this was what was open at the time.
Okay.
We're only printing what is posted on the county's website, because otherwise we might end up sharing something that people think is open, but is in fact not. And I know that that happened last year because there was some miscommunications around one of the
Yeah.
shelters that usually opens.
Well, I do know
But it is-
because people in our park went to some of these shelters.
Yeah, I think it might have been John Hopkins last year, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for that. That's important. All right, last comment on this for right now.
The trouble with this was dated the same day that the storm was already raging.
That's when we got the information.
Too late.
That's when we,
This has to be,
we can't print it sooner because the shelters aren't posted sooner. We can only print it once the shelters are posted, which they do same day.
yeah, I mean, something like this has to be given 2 days before.
So Norm, the thing is, the shelters,
Yeah,
the list of open shelters is posted by the county.
yeah,
And that is we share this when it is posted. We can't print this until this list is posted by the county.
yeah,
So we would post it the next day or the day before if we could.
right,
We'll post it as early as possible.
yeah.
That's my guarantee.
And not only that, but the Salvation Army isn't even safe harbor for Pinellas.
These are-
shelters during the storm?
Norm, these are hurricane shelters, okay?
I know.
On that note, everybody, on that note, hold on. Give me 1 second. On that note, y'all, I am not asking for feedback on the list of shelters. The list of shelters is posted by the county. These are their hurricane shelters. We're asking for feedback on the general content. So we're asking, is this accessible? What other information could be useful? Or what's the best way to distribute this? I would love to post more shelters, but there are no more hurricane shelters. These are only hurricane shelters, and we can only post this. We can only print this. We can only distribute this when the county releases their shelter locations. Otherwise, we risk giving people bad information. So I agree with you. We will post it as early as possible, and we will post every open shelter. How's that? Okay. Do you have any other feedback for us?
All right, it's very good, yeah.
Yeah, I think half of them.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree, okay, very good.
Norman,
Now, the list of these shelters can be for everybody, not necessarily homeless people.
Those are
Mind
for,
you, they can be full with.
these are hurricanes.
A lot of people, even from mobile homes, had to
Yes.
evacuate during the storm.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make that
Yeah,
clear.
absolutely. These are hurricane shelters and they are open to anybody. All right, ready to move on to the next agenda item?
Norman? Respectfully, as your friend and co-chair, could you do me a favor? Turn the volume up just a hair because you're yelling. The microphone is overmodulated, please. Please.
All right. Please, y'all, if you think that there is something that we can do to improve hurricane outreach, I can't print the flyers faster than the county gives us the information. I wish I could. If I could, I would print those things a week ahead of time. But if you have, I'm gonna ask that you give us more feedback after the meeting. So you do need to move on to the next agenda item, but please, if you have more feedback, please do let us know. Send us an email or grab us after the meeting. We'll have a quick conversation and we'll make note of that because it's really important we get this information out. All right. Next up, advocacy.
advocacy opportunities. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to hand that over to Victoria about different opportunities, but one way that, you can help with advocacy is directly by this, letting people know. Start, think ahead of time. You know, with hurricanes gonna hit, I've been in Florida 62 years. I have yet to see one. Now, it doesn't mean there isn't one, but one that just manifests overnight right offshore. Usually we have a couple days notice. Think about, you know, if the storm hits, where am I gonna go? You know, what shelters are available? And then we can reinforce that in getting the word out. So.
Okay.
As far as other advocacy opportunities, I think Victoria could probably answer that question a little bit more competently than I can right now. So I'm gonna hand it to her.
So this agenda topic really came about from past meetings. Especially I think the last two meetings, there was a really big push to talk about how this group can make an impact, how this group can stand up and advocate for positive change. I know y'all remember meeting with our COC secretary, Ms. April Lott, last month. And out of that conversation, there was a lot of discussion about how to improve services generally, how to ensure that people are comfortable completing those really important assessments. Those assessments are the only way that we're getting into a lot of programs. And so how we can make sure that we are making that an assessment people are comfortable with, and that we are educating the community to ensure that they know it's okay to fill that out. They know that though I might have access to it, our partners at Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, for instance, don't, because law enforcement officials literally cannot have access to it. So those were a couple of the topics of conversation that really came out of that. We also had a conversation in that meeting, and in some others, as y'all might recall, about how we can advocate for improved shelter. So improved emergency shelter, whether that is, more bed space, whether that is cleaner facilities, whether that is more case management or more wraparound services. There's been a lot of conversation surrounding those topics. And so this was put on the agenda to really give the group an opportunity to identify advocacy opportunities and kind of pick, or at least narrow it down to what our next item is really going to be, what the next focus is really going to be. We've got this pamphlet. It's fantastic. I'm really excited that it's printed and it's ready to go. So what's next on the list? Chair Beckman, I saw you had your hand up.
Get your exercise, but you're walking so well.
Look at me.
Thank you. I am chair of the Pinellas County Continuum of Care Board of Directors. So the Board of Directors, is made up of all those professionals and people that are providers and funders and all that. I'm also a former high school English teacher, and I taught journalism, and I was on the Clearwater City Council. And so what I gravitate towards is wanting your group to have power. And I also co-chair the advocacy committee for the whole COC. So if you're interested in, joining that, you're welcome to join that as well. We meet virtually, I think it's every other month. But I think you all have done some great things. Number one, you've got an active, engaged group. You've worked on a charter. You've worked on this pamphlet that's gone through a lot of review and a lot of legwork, and you've got it printed off. You have a woman here, Jennifer, who's my friend, who has shown up at Clearwater City Council meetings to advocate and speak her truth. And I think, my advice to you, unsolicited, is to begin to invite elected officials to this meeting. Where April was here last month, and I was here to hear from you, that's important. Those elected people are the ones who hold the purse strings. They are the ones we really need to touch, and I'm telling you, because I was one of them, sitting up there on the council. And it was a hard fight to try to get more money allocated towards homeless prevention and homeless interventions. The numbers did not move their hearts. And so I wasn't able to make adequate progress, I thought, through the city of Clearwater. We're making progress in other ways, but they need to hear your stories. They need to see your face. They need to sit up there and take questions and answers. That gentleman that had issues about Sheriff Galtieri, invite him to the meeting. And the other thing is you invite and report to a news reporter and tell them, hey, do a story about the LEAC committee. We've got a board, they're doing all these great things. And as a matter of fact, we've invited these 10 elected officials and they're not showing up. Or we invited Sheriff Galtieri to come and answer questions. We haven't got a response. I mean, put it out there, not to do that like next month, but you need to be intentional and get those people who are making decisions about the money into these meetings. And also the providers, you know, like April, Directions for Living CEO, the people that are Park and PERC and all those guys, get them here so that you can ask them questions on behalf of your friends or others who have lived experience. That's your power, is to get them to see your face, hear your story, and you develop a relationship with them so that when you have asks, they're more inclined to work hard, you know, to make that happen. So, that's my, you know, contact a newspaper reporter. I can help you do that. Anybody with HLA can give you email addresses of, all those decision makers. And, so that's my 2 cents.
And if I may point out, when we do start having dignitaries here, we need to keep this a calm and civil meeting. Guys, don't let your emotions run away with you, because we don't want to turn them off. We're trying to get them to engage. You know, rather than having somebody sit and play an armchair reporter, we want them in the game. We want to pull them in. We want to get
Want
them.
to be partners, right? Respectful
Get
partners.
part of it. So,
All right. So with that in mind, I am going to ask that we table further discussion on really identifying an advocacy issue to next month. I think that this should be one of our big topics on next month's agenda. Kind of picking the next big project or next big issue to really focus on. On that note, I'm also happy to say that over the next few months, I expect our healthcare for the homeless program to have a representative come in and get some program feedback from y'all. I think that'll be a great opportunity to engage in some healthcare advocacy as well. So sure, if y'all are unfamiliar with the healthcare for the homeless program, please let me know. I'll give you some information about it after the meeting so that you can have that all in mind for when they do come and join us. All right. Next on the list, we have a charter review. If y'all can believe, it has been almost 1.5 years since the Lived Experience Advisory Committee charter was approved. We did have an update about a year ago. We set a limit to our membership. I don't remember if we set the limit that day or if we changed it from 15 to 20 people, but that was the update we did back in March of last year. And now it is time for us to look at the charter again, because our charter dictates in here that we will review this every year. Some years that means that we might look at it and y'all decide it's good. There's really nothing from the COC or HLAM that we think needs to be updated. Y'all feel comfortable with it. And we just say, okay, no changes, move it along. Some years though, we will make huge changes to the document because that's just how progress works, right? So I have put together a list of possible updates and included a draft updated charter in the meeting packet for your review. We probably won't approve this today unless everybody's had an opportunity to look at it, feels comfortable, doesn't have any edits, which I can't imagine because I always have edits to things. So we will talk about this a little bit, and then I'm going to ask for feedback and for y'all to think about this further outside of the meeting so that we can really come together and have an updated, refreshed charter that is really well in line with the COC governance charter and the charter for all of the other councils and committees here within the COC. Making sure that everybody is in line, that all of the committees are in line is a really big goal of ours for this year. So some of the updates that I have suggested for the charter are some really simple ones, just formatting to make sure that it's all consistent with the main COC charter. For instance, the main COC charter got a new cover page this year. So I have updated our cover page here for this so that it is more in line with that. The language has been updated to be more in line with federal guidance. Which is of course constantly updating and constantly changing. And I may need to come back to you in a few more months and say, hey, by the way, we have some new verbiage from the federal government. Let's talk about this and update the charter accordingly. For right now, what you're looking at is pretty in line with federal guidance. We've also, I updated the name of the HLA to instead say the COC lead agency. Because that's really what we're doing here. And the work that we're doing for this committee is a part of that work as our COC lead agency. Those are the general changes that I'm suggesting, and you do not have to accept all of these changes, by the way. You could look at one of them and say, Victoria, I think that this is absolutely awful, and we take it out, and that's okay, no hard feelings. But I also went ahead and updated information about membership, attendance, and stipends. There was no information about stipends in the charter, and I thought that it was good to at least have some of that information included so that it was very, very clear who is eligible, who is not, and there is really no question about why did I or did I not get a stipend moving forward, because I know that that is a question for folks. Also, because we are limited to 20 members, we used to have the suggestion for 2 people who have experienced homelessness within the last 7 years but are not currently experiencing homelessness to be a member. I went ahead and reduced that to 1 because there are a lot of different types of members on that list. I combined the suggested 1 person living with a mental health disability and 1 person living with a physical disability to 1 person living with a disability. I did remove the suggestion to have a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, and that is again to be in line with that federal guidance and that federal language. Added language about the membership application and approval process, because we didn't have that last time we updated this charter. And of course, like I said, added that language about stipend eligibility. Also on pages 3 to 4 of this document, updated some information about the roles and responsibilities, changed LEAC leadership to LEAC officers, because quite frankly, that is what Gary and Mike and Kat are. They are officers of this committee. I changed co-chair as the standard because that is what this group has voted on. The charter, when we created it, talked about having a chair and a vice chair and gave an option to elect 2 co-chairs. This group has decided instead to make 2 co-chairs the standard. And so we have changed that to the standard in the charter. There is still an option though in the charter to have a chair and a vice chair if that's what we want to do. And when I say we, I don't actually mean me, I mean y'all, because it's your decision. But if that's what we want to do in the future, we can do it without having them to come back and do an amendment. We talked about this previously, staggering our officer terms. So right now, our officers are elected every single year. So this December, we will hold an election for all 3 officer seats. I am suggesting to have more consistency in leadership, in mission, in planning, that we extend our board officer terms from 1 year to 2, and that we stagger them so that we have 1 co-chair elected every year. So for instance, that would mean that co-chair A starts in 2026 and co-chair B starts in 2027. Doesn't mean we're without a co-chair, a second co-chair for that year, by the way. But it just means that we have them staggered that way so that in 2028, co-chair A is being elected or re-elected but co-chair B is still there to be that stable presence. So that is my recommendation there. Let's see, also added, and this is just in line with the COC, that partial terms will be retroactive to the beginning of the year. That means that, for instance, if we elected, if Gary for some reason left us and we elected Bobby Joe to be the new co-chair, their term would not start that month. Their term would start January of 2025. And that is so that we can keep that calendar consistent. In pages 4 or 5 of the charter, we added some information about meeting cancellations. The only information I added here is that Chair Beckman can also opt to cancel a meeting if for some reason the meeting needs to be canceled. So meetings can be canceled by our officers or by Chair Beckman in that case as an executive decision. And I don't actually, by the way, expect that she would do that for any reason other than like, oh my goodness, a hurricane is coming. So that is the updates to that section. Added the process for approving suggested agenda additions and meeting accommodations, which again, just added that Chair Beckman can approve meeting accommodations. Of course, you can always reach out to your lived experience officers, to myself or to Megan, to say, hey, I'm not feeling well, can I Zoom into the meeting? But if for some reason you happen to catch Chair Beckman beforehand, or you feel more comfortable reaching out to Chair Beckman, you can absolutely do that. And then she'll just shoot Megan and I a message and say, hey, by the way, Bobby Joe is going to attend virtually. Please make sure they have a Zoom link. So that's that. Rules of engagement section. Updated the no discrimination policy. That is number 10 on page, either 5 or 6. I think it's page 6. Page 5.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, page 6. So I updated number 10 on page 6. I just changed the language in the discrimination policy to, again, be more in line with those federal guidance. And then added that charter review begins in 2025. We will do a charter review every other year. And so that we have a start date, so future groups don't come together and say, oh my goodness, do we do this on the odd year or the off year? Went ahead and added that it's going to be 2025 and start doing that so they don't have to worry in future. That was a lot of information. I know, don't worry, you have that. It's in your packet. Everything I just read is in the packet. It's all written down, and then you have the full document that has the information as well. I know that's a lot, but does anybody have any questions about what I just went through? No? Is there anything that anybody has found in our charter or in our operating policies or procedures that you think could be improved upon or should be spelled out very clearly? Not yet? That's okay. I tell you what, does everybody want more time to review this and we can bring it back for discussion again at the next meeting? Yes. Okay, Charmaine votes yes for that. Is that agreement from the group, more time to review now that we've talked about it a little bit?
I think it would be a good idea.
Yeah.
All right.
Really good.
All right. So you have, yeah, perfect. You have this, I keep wanting to hold this up like it's something. It's not. I'm just holding the pamphlet. So you have this in your email because it's in the packet. It is also in the packet on our website. And if you, for some reason, lose it and you need another copy, just reach out to me or Megan and we'll make sure that we send it to you. If you have any feedback or suggestions, you can send those over via email to myself or to Megan, or you can bring a list to our next meeting. If you send them to us via email, though, we'll be able to type them up and add them to the packet so people have an opportunity to look over them. Okay, you have a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I just had a quick,
Microphone.
yeah, I just had a quick question about the resources for interacting with law enforcement. And I wondered why we have so many copies and what are we intended to do with them?
Ooh, great question. You have so many copies because this is the pamphlet that was approved and you can start passing it out. If you don't want to pass it out, you can give it to somebody else who does want to pass them out. You're not obligated.
We can let us know.
All right, I was contacted by Michael. He asked me to bring up a couple points since he wasn't able to be here. He wanted to bring up the need for social media interviews to some who are currently experiencing homelessness and not afraid to appear on camera. This is something that as a committee we spoke to at the beginning. He said something that was suggested 2 years ago, but well, are we 2 years old yet?
We are not.
Okay, well, anyway, mistakes happen. Anyhow, he, something about social media interviews or possibly media interviews, if somebody experiencing homelessness feels comfortable enough. It's just a thought, I guess, just planting a seed. Explaining why those in the, living outside should not be completely afraid about it with regards to law enforcement or coming to them. This is what he suggests, so I am merely relaying his voice for this. Or a short video guide, blog postings about this. Especially with the NOFO grants that were just came out. He thinks it might persuade people to seek help now, knowing that the funds are available now. So it could, at least that's what his email shows me. And especially since the summer hurricane season is soon approaching.
It is.
So start to take a preemptive strike on that. But his suggestion, we did talk about it. I don't remember how long ago it was, but maybe just doing some kind of talk about the experience of homelessness. So anyhow, I promised him I would. I like to keep my word. There you go.
On that note, we did, last year talk about, prepping to do some short interviews, to do some, even just getting together in a group and to be honest, I have a pretty powerful phone. It's got a really good camera. And getting together and doing a brief interview that we can then cut down into a couple of minutes to share on social media, to share with the media. And the idea behind this was really to show people that homelessness is a community thing, that homelessness can happen to anybody, that our neighbors experiencing homelessness are our neighbors, are a member of the community. Wild and crazy thought, I know. But that is really what we had talked about last year for this. I know that last year we had now HLA's Vice Chair, Mr. Nick Carey, come in and do an advocacy presentation for the group to really kind of get the gears spinning. And we had talked about doing storytelling training as well in this group. That all got kind of waylaid by a hurricane. And then we had this awesome project here. I actually get to hold it up now. We had this awesome project here that really took precedence. But I absolutely would love to bring that idea back if that is something that this group would love to explore. And I would like to ask if this group would, in that case, like to invite Mr. Carey back to do a refresher on advocacy and what advocacy looks like. And if you would like us to invite a speaker to come and talk about storytelling and interviews and things like that as well, so that anybody who wants to participate, nobody has to participate, everything is voluntary, can feel comfortable and ready to do so. So are those things that are of interest to this group? Or do you have other ideas for what we could do to improve that process, or other trainings or speakers that you might like to come in? Not everybody all at once. I knew I could count on you.
Oh, no, you threw a lot at us, so I think I'm gonna have to think on that, and, because that's a whole lot. Yep. And so I'll just have to think about it, and maybe have some discussions with some of the ones that we do talk to outside of here, so yeah.
I love that. And by the way, I want everybody to know, I always think that, let me think about it and get back to you, is a great answer. When people say I have a question, I say I have an answer. It might be, I don't know, I'll have to find out, but I always have an answer. And yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So please, in that case, after today, think about what advocacy you would like to engage in, you would like this group to engage in, or what project you think might be most important to look at next or to consider next. Consider the Lived Experience Advisory Committee charter, because that charter needs a little bit of a refresh for a few different reasons. It does. I know it's still young, but it needs a refresh already. So consider what updates you might want to see. Look through what I have proposed, and if you have edits to that, please bring it back, because just because I wrote it down there does not mean that it is set in stone or perfect. So bring it on back and provide some feedback. And think about what opportunities, what training, what guest speakers, what collaborative conversations might benefit this committee and our shared mission to end homelessness and generally improve homeless services here in Pinellas County. Would advocacy training help? Would resource training help? Because if it would be helpful to have somebody come in and talk about how to help somebody navigate some resources, like we were talking about earlier, because outreach is a really important part of this, we could do that. So what do you think would help this group work more efficiently? What would make you feel more comfortable being a spokesperson for the COC, being a spokesperson for your community? And those are my asks. I know it's a lot of homework for one meeting. I always say teachers should keep in mind that they are not the only people giving you homework. And here I am pretending I'm the only one. But it would be really, really helpful if we could get that feedback. And then lastly, also some feedback on how we can make sure when we get information about the storms the day before the storms, how we can make sure that we are sending that information out to the community in a way that is truly accessible. It's a lot, I know. Don't worry, we'll send out an email probably early next week with a recap of all of that, because that's a lot to remember.
It is.
So we'll go ahead, we'll send that out.
That's a good idea.
I would like to say, on the topic of the charter review, I think we need to discuss this a little more. There are some things that probably we need to polish up, revise, and so I make a motion that at a future date, we put this on the agenda for discussion.
We'll table it.
Okay, you table it for
We'll
today.
table it,
Yeah.
that's for discussion for another time.
Yeah. Okay, can I make a motion to table the motion for
I'll second
today
it.
and bring it up at a future meeting for discussion?
We don't need a motion for it, but we could take it.
All right, we don't need a motion, we'll
we don't?
table it,
Okay,
study
okay,
it, and then have a discussion, group
All right.
discussion on it at a later time,
okay.
Yeah.
okay?
This will be on the May agenda for sure.
All right. It's on the May agenda now. I think it'd be a good thing for everyone here to know some of the resources. Like, for instance, Silas was able to call me and I knew where they have showers, where they have laundry, where all these resources are. I think it would be valuable if each and every one of us had that information at their fingertips, meaning, you know the information. So that way, when you out there dealing with people, oh yeah, you don't have to call me, you know it. You know where these where places are, where to get a hot meal, where they can get a shower, where they can get laundry done. You know, you already know this. I think that would be a valuable resource for all of us to know together collectively as a group, because then we can all advocate. My opinion.
I agree.
Excellent. I know that this was a lot. I know, I'm feeling a little bit hoarse, because it was a lot. Thank you all for bearing with me. We went through so much information today. I don't know how y'all feel. My head's a little spinny now. So it was, if you feel a little bit overwhelmed, don't worry, you're not alone. We're gonna break all of this stuff down into manageable chunks. That's how we're gonna approach all of this. We're not going to tackle the whole world all at once. So, just pick one of the topics we've talked about today and make that your focus for the week. If the charter is your baby, go ahead and dive into that charter this week. If you're getting ready for hurricane season, make that your thing. Don't worry about doing everything all at once. Pick one of the things we've talked about today and really focus on that. Make it a passion project. And let me know what you come up with.
If you're feeling overwhelmed, don't feel bad. This week's agenda was 27 pages long. So it's a lot of information, a lot of stuff to absorb. If anybody needs to talk about anything or whatever, you'll have my number. I'll answer my phone anytime. As long as my eyes are open, I will answer the phone for you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. It is 7:01. Mr. Small, if you want to adjourn us, and then afterwards, if anybody wants to share a good news story, I'd love to hear it.
Does anybody have a good story or something they'd like to bring up before I call this meeting to adjourn? Anything? No? Okay. Well, then, it's 7:02 people, and I'm going to call this meeting to adjourn. Thank you very much for your patience and expertise in the matters at hand. And, meeting adjourned.
And if anybody wants to have any further conversation about some of the stuff we talked about today, let me know.
That's exactly right.
Parking lot talk.
I did a couple of these, you look up here, okay.